Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take those piles of articles and research you never seem to have time for, and we pull out the absolute gold.
We mine the good stuff so you don't have to.
And today, we are diving deep into a tech company that's gone from gaming graphics to, well, pretty much building the future.
A company that shows how you don't just ride a tech wave, you become the wave.
We're talking about NVIDIA.
That's right. And the level of influence they've achieved, it's mind-blowing. AI, data centers, the way cars will drive themselves, NVIDIA is right there.
It's crazy. You brought all these articles about their recent moves, and I gotta say, some of this stuff is seriously impressive. Like, did you know NVIDIA's data center revenue just flew past their gaming revenue?
It's huge. For anyone who's been following NVIDIA, it shows their bet on the future of computing is paying off, and then some.
Okay, but let's rewind for a second. Because most people, myself included, know NVIDIA for their gaming graphics cards. Yeah. You know, those GeForce cards. The ones that make your games look crazy good.
Right, those incredibly realistic graphics. That's NVIDIA. They push the boundaries with things like real-time ray tracing.
Which is?
It's basically simulating how light works in the real world, but in a game. Makes those virtual environments crazy lifelike.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when you see it in action. But then they pulled off this pivot, and AI became their thing. How did they do that when everyone and their brother was trying to do the same?
The key was they focused on the infrastructure behind AI. They weren't just making products that used AI, they were building the tools that let researchers and data scientists unlock AI's real potential.
And that's where their GPUs come in?
Exactly. Specifically, something called CUDA architecture.
Okay, now you're just using big words to sound smart.
Yeah.
Break that down for me, what makes CUDA so special?
Okay, so imagine trying to, teach a computer to understand what's in a picture, right? Like, let's say a cat. It's not just about showing it a million pictures of cats.
Yep.
It's about processing all that visual information, all those little details that make a cat. CUDA lets NVIDIA's GPUs handle tons of tiny calculations all at the same time, and that is exactly what AI needs to learn and actually evolve. It's like giving AI a massive brain boost.
So instead of just making the games look prettier, they basically handed scientists and researchers a toolbox to build the future.
Exactly. They supplied the engine, not just the car. And that's why they were able to capitalize on the explosion of data science, machine learning, all these fields that basically run on crunching massive amounts of data.
It's like they were building the picks and shovels during the gold rush.
And everyone else was just, running around looking for gold.
Exactly. And speaking of gold, that brings us to their powerhouse chips, the A100 and the H100. Those sound less like computer chips and more like robots from a sci-fi movie.
Well, they might as well be robots with how much power they pack. These chips are designed for the unique demands of AI.
Which is different from...
It's not just about making your computer faster. It's about handling the immense complexity of what AI actually has to do. Imagine if you had to, sift through a library the size of the universe to find a single sentence.
Okay, my brain hurts just thinking about that.
Yeah, so those are the kinds of challenges these chips are built for.
And I'm guessing the big players out there have noticed. Because it's not every day you see companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft.
Right, all betting on the same horse.
Exactly.
They're all using NVIDIA's chips in their data centers, which are basically...
the backbone of the internet.
Exactly.
So your personalized search results, your streaming services, those cloud-based AI tools.
It's all powered by these crazy, powerful chips from NVIDIA.
It really is like NVIDIA's supplying the picks and shovels for the AI gold rush.
100%. And the impact of all that processing power is everywhere you look. Advancements in robotics, healthcare, materials science, climate modeling.
We're talking real-world stuff here, not just theoretical.
Real world, huge impact, all because of the tools NVIDIA is providing. The speed at which we're seeing breakthroughs in those fields, it's mind-boggling.
And speaking of data centers, that feels like it's become NVIDIA's new playground. But it's not just about being there, right? They're kind of crushing it.
Oh, crushing it is an understatement. It's more like they built a data center empire. And what's so interesting is how they understood where things were headed before a lot of others did.
Yeah, like they had a time machine or something.
Right. Cloud computing, big data analysis, all that. They saw that these things were going to need some serious processing power.
The kind their GPUs were basically born to handle.
Exactly. And it paid off because now data center revenue isn't just a side hustle for them, it's their biggest moneymaker.
Bigger than even those legendary GeForce gaming cards. That's insane.
It tells you a lot about where the whole tech world is going. And the reason NVIDIA is on top, Their GPUs are literally designed for how data centers operate.
Okay, explain that like I'm 5.
Okay, so imagine you're trying to solve this giant jigsaw puzzle. And instead of just you, you've got like 1,000 people working on it all at the same time.
Now we're talking.
NVIDIA's technology is like giving each one of those people a super fast puzzle-solving brain.
Okay, you actually just made my brain work faster.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask, with all this focus on data centers and AI, does that mean they've like shifted away from gaming? Because let's be real, those GeForce graphics cards, they're iconic.
Listen, they haven't abandoned the gamers. Not even close. If anything, they've doubled down.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Their GeForce RTX 40 series, they've got innovations in there that are mind-blowing, even for a tech geek like me.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, you know that thing, DLSS? Deep Learning Super Sampling?
It rings a bell.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
It's basically AI, but for making your games look even more amazing.
Listening.
Imagine watching a movie, right? And it's in, like, standard definition.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, bam, it switches to ultra-high definition.
Okay, I like where this is going.
But your computer doesn't even flinch. It just handles it flawlessly. That's DLSS.
So they're using the same AI that's powering these massive data centers to make my games look even more realistic. Sign me up.
It's a win-win. It shows they really get at both the cutting-edge tech and what gamers actually want. Gorgeous, immersive games that don't make your computer sound like a jet engine.
It's like they're playing on both sides and winning on both sides.
Exactly. They're not just keeping up, they're setting the pace.
Okay, so we've got data centers, gaming,
Yeah.
the AI that ties it all together. What else am I missing? What about the metaverse?
The Metaverse, everyone's talking about it, but no one seems to know exactly what it is.
That's how I feel.
It's a little like trying to explain the internet to someone back in, like, the 1970s.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're in for a wild ride.
Think of it like this. A bunch of interconnected, immersive 3D worlds.
Okay.
And it's not just about escaping reality, it's about creating entirely new ones.
So how does NVIDIA fit into all this?
They're using their Omniverse platform to actually build the metaverse, or at least a big chunk of it.
Okay, hold on. Back up. How does Omniverse even work?
Imagine, like, architects designing a skyscraper together, right? But they're on opposite sides of the world.
Okay.
Or, like, engineers testing a new product, but it's all virtual, before they even build the real thing. That's what Omniverse makes possible.
So it's like this shared digital playground for creating basically anything.
It's not just for gaming, it has implications for almost every industry you can think of.
This is blowing my mind.
NVIDIA is betting big that the metaverse is going to be the next evolution of how we work, how we learn, how we connect.
They always seem to be one step ahead.
And they've got the expertise to make it happen. Graphics, AI, simulation, they're way ahead of the curve.
It's almost like they're writing the rule book for the metaverse.
Yeah.
And speaking of big moves, we can't forget about that whole ARM Holdings acquisition. That's a whole other level of wow, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. That one sent shockwaves through the entire tech industry. And to understand why, you have to realize just how omnipresent ARM technology really is.
I know they make the processors that are in, like my phone and stuff, but it sounds like they're in a lot more than that.
We're talking billions of devices. Smartphones, sure, but also tablets, smart home gadgets, even servers, the things that power the internet.
So it's kind of a big deal.
ARM's architecture is known for being incredibly power efficient, which makes it perfect for all those devices. It's the invisible force behind our increasingly connected world.
Okay, so if NVIDIA were to get control of that, we're not just talking about them being a player in the tech game, we're talking about them calling the shots.
It would be huge, a massive power play, giving them a huge chunk of the semiconductor market.
I get why people might be a little nervous about that.
Well, of course. That kind of influence always comes with scrutiny. Regulators all over the world are watching this deal very closely.
Makes sense. If one company controls that much of the tech landscape.
It raises some big questions. On one hand, you have the potential for some truly groundbreaking innovation if these two tech giants combine their knowledge and resources. But
There's always a but.
right.
Right.
There are definitely legitimate concerns about monopolies and whether that much power should be concentrated in the hands of one company.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure. Okay, so we've got NVIDIA in data centers, gaming, the metaverse, and potentially running the show with ARM. Is that everything? Did I miss anything?
You'd think they'd need a nap after all that, right? But nope. They're also leaders in the race for self-driving cars.
Oh, right. I totally forgot about that. I knew they were involved, but I didn't realize it was such a big deal.
It's a very big deal. Their NVIDIA Drive platform, think of it like the brain of a self-driving car.
So it's the AI making the decisions, figuring out where to go and all that.
Exactly. And it's being used by some major players in the autonomous vehicle game. Tesla, Volvo, a bunch of others.
So the same AI smarts that are powering those massive data centers are also quite literally driving cars. That's wild.
It all comes down to processing tons of data in real time, whether it's visual data from a car's cameras and sensors or the complex data sets that AI thrives on.
So NVIDIA is basically at the heart of this whole data revolution.
100%. They saw where things were going and they put themselves in the driver's seat. No pun intended.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it. They're not just building tech. They're shaping the future of how we live, work, commute, everything. But how do they do it? How do they stay ahead of the game like that year after year?
It's a few things. For one, they're not afraid to spend money when it matters. They invest billions, with a B, into R&D research and development.
So they're not afraid to take risks and try new things.
Exactly. They're always pushing the boundaries, seeing what's possible. And they're not afraid to disrupt themselves even when they're on top. They seem to constantly be asking, what's next?
It's like they have this internal compass that always points them toward the next big thing.
And they're not afraid to disrupt themselves even when they're at the top of their game. They seem to constantly be asking, what's next? What else can we do? And I think a lot of that goes back to their CEO, Jensen Huang.
Oh yeah, he seems like a bit of a legend.
He's been leading NVIDIA for decades, and he's known for his bold vision and his, contagious enthusiasm for technology.
Yeah, you don't reach the top of the tech world without being able to rally people around a vision,
Well,
right?
Absolutely. And from what I've read about him, Jensen Huang seems to have this rare combination of being both a brilliant engineer and a charismatic visionary.
He's not just selling you a product, he's selling you the future.
Exactly. And that's powerful. But it's not just about one person, right? It's about the culture he's fostered at NVIDIA. They've managed to attract some of the most talented engineers and researchers in the world, and they're all pulling in the same direction.
Which brings us to the big question. What's next for NVIDIA? They've already conquered gaming, they're kings of the data center, and they're shaping the future of AI, the metaverse, and autonomous driving. Is there anything left for them to conquer?
Well, knowing NVIDIA, they're probably already drawing up plans to colonize Mars with AI-powered robots.
Huh. Wouldn't surprise me.
But seriously, I think we're just starting to see the true potential of the technologies NVIDIA is building. Take AI, for example.
Which seems to be at the heart of just about everything they're doing these days.
Exactly. But it's not just about making AI more powerful. It's about making it more accessible.
What do you mean by that?
Right now, using AI effectively still requires a lot of specialized knowledge and resources. NVIDIA is working on changing that.
So kind of like democratizing AI, making it so anyone can use it.
Exactly. They're building platforms and tools that allow businesses of all sizes, even individuals, to harness the power of AI without needing a degree in computer science. Imagine a world where even small startups can leverage AI to compete with the big players. That's the future NVIDIA is working towards.
That's an interesting thought. It's like taking something that used to be reserved for scientists and engineers and putting it in the hands of everyone.
Exactly. And then there's the metaverse. We talked about Omniverse earlier, but I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. Think about it. A fully immersive, interactive 3D world where you can work, play, learn, and connect with others in ways we can barely even imagine right now.
It sounds like science fiction, but knowing NVIDIA, they're probably already beta testing it somewhere.
Probably. But it's not just about entertainment or gaming, although those will be a big part of it. Imagine architects designing buildings together in real time, no matter where they are in the world. Or surgeons practicing complex procedures on virtual patients before ever stepping foot in an operating room.
The possibilities really are endless, aren't they?
Exactly. It's like taking the internet as we know it and adding a whole new dimension, literally.
And then, of course, you've got autonomous driving. That's a field that's going to have a massive impact on our lives. And guess what? NVIDIA is right there at the forefront, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's amazing to think about, isn't it? All this tech that seemed so far off just a few years ago is suddenly right around the corner.
And it seems like with everything we've talked about today, NVIDIA's technology is going to be a big part of making all of it happen.
I think so too. And it's not just about self-driving cars, you know. Their ambitions go even further than that. They're investing in robotics and smart cities and all sorts of other technologies that are going to completely change the way we live and interact with the world around us.
It's clear that NVIDIA is not content with simply being a participant in these technological revolutions.
Mm.
They're determined to be the driving force behind them. They're setting the pace, and it's up to everyone else to keep up.
And I think that's what makes their story so compelling. They're not just a company, they're a catalyst for change. They're constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and in doing so, they're shaping the future.
Well said. So, to sum it all up, it seems like NVIDIA's future is as bright as a GeForce RTX 4090 running at full blast. They're pushing the boundaries of AI, the metaverse, autonomous driving, and who knows what else they'll dream up next. One thing's for sure, they're not done surprising us.
Not even close. I, for one, can't wait to see what they do next.
We too. And for our listeners, here's something to ponder. Which of NVIDIA's current bets do you think will have the biggest impact on your life in the next 5 years? AI, the metaverse, self-driving cars, or maybe something we haven't even talked about yet? Let us know. We love hearing from you. Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.